XChange Newsroom coverage is brought to you by Enable, a leading integrated IT service management platform provider.
Hello, you're watching CRN TV's on-location coverage at XChange 2025. I'm Kyle Alspach, Senior Editor at CRN, and I'm here with Neil Holme, Founder and CEO of Impact Business Technology. Neil, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a bit about MSP and security, and I think, big question on my mind is, how are MSPs evolving their security stacks in 2025? What are some of the biggest ways?
I think the first thing we've got to be looking at is AI-enabled security. That's the biggest threat we're facing right now, so we have to fight the machines with machines. It's kind of a sad place to be, but it's necessary. This is what's next.
And what are some of the specific ways that you're thinking about enabling security with AI?
So there is so much data to look at. We cannot possibly process it all. There are so many tools. We need to be able to tie everything together and react at machine speed, because the attackers are using the same tools against us. So it's a speed, it's a volume, and it's a force multiplier for us. We don't really have a choice. And we've been using it for quite some time, but its adoption is going to be accelerating, and the pace of adoption here also has to accelerate. It's a little scary.
Absolutely. And are there other examples outside of that, where you see a lot of evolution happening right now for MSPs and for your own security stack?
So the other thing we're looking at is really aligning very strictly with a established security framework or a security standard. We're using these frameworks. For example, we align ourselves with the CIS-18, and it allows us, or it forces us, to look holistically at security rather than focused on a product or a service that we're buying and reselling.
I see. And that's, why is that becoming more and more important?
Well, we need to look at the much broader security landscape. The threats facing our customers, the regulatory burden that they're facing and we are facing is only going to increase. There might be a bit of a pause for the next 4 years, but it's certainly not going to go away. So we have to keep on evolving the way we look at security to keep up.
And what's your advice for other MSPs on when they're looking at these different frameworks? I know there's a number of different ones. How do they go about making the choice of which to focus on, or should they focus on multiple?
So I can tell you how we chose the CIS-18. It's nice because it's a graded system, meaning you can start small and you can keep on adding as you go through your maturity levels to get better and better. If you wanted to start with like the NIST 853, that is a monster, and you'll get disillusioned very quickly. So we chose the CIS-18 because it allows us to start small. And in fact, that's the journey we take our customers through too. We start them small and then we layer them up through the various implementation groups.
I see. Well, speaking of requirements that are being put on MSPs and their clients, I would love to hear a bit from you about cyber insurance and just some of the biggest ways that you see that situation evolving and how that evolution is affecting MSPs and your customers.
So if we go back a few years, I think cyber insurance is partly to blame for the mess we're in right now. There's an awful lot of money been paid out to the criminals, and this is a huge enabler for them. Why wouldn't you conduct another ransomware attack? You're gonna get paid, because that was the insurance industry's default. Now I think they have turned things around. They're starting to price risk appropriately, and they're starting to require certain controls to be in place. It's finally reaching the right place. Government is starting to catch up too. The government in Australia last year outlawed ransom payments. Finally, right? We've never paid a ransom. I would not pay a ransom, but I've never also been faced with that choice. So it's difficult to say.
But it's interesting that cyber insurance, it's obviously a sort of a double-edged sword there, where it's had this negative impact because of enabling ransomware actors to get paid, but now also having these requirements is improving security. Maybe now again, that's kind of what you're getting at, is it's doing positive things now.
Yeah, I think the insurance companies have learned a lot You know, I can't tell you how many insurance questionnaires I've filled out on behalf of my customers, and we can see the evolution in what they're asking for. The questions they ask today are going to price the risk for tomorrow. It's not actually changing very much about what you're going to pay today, but they're using the data that they're gathering and then assessing who gets breached, therefore who had the right controls in place, and it'll go to the next round of mandates and requirements to get underwritten.
Absolutely. I mean, my understanding also, I mean, a lot of cyber insurance companies now are offering their own security services. I don't know if you had any thoughts on, you know, that evolution there.
Yeah, I think some of them are good. We work a lot with one particular carrier, and they bought a security company and made that part of their platform. It's good. It's difficult to manage. They haven't aligned well with the MSP community yet. So I've got dozens of logins to their platform for each of my customers. I want one login. I want to be able to manage all my customers and how they're perceived and monitored by the insurance company. There's still some way to go in terms of how well they work with the people that are actually providing the security.
I see. Well, going back to something you touched on earlier with the AI-enabled threats, you know, I would love to hear a bit more just in terms of the landscape overall. I mean, are threats continuing to intensify, you know, based on AI and other factors that your customers are seeing?
So I can't say that we've experienced an AI-enabled attack, so I can't talk directly to it, but I do know, I mean, I read a lot. Every vendor here is talking about it, about how the AI threat landscape is growing, and it makes a lot of sense. The tools that are out there for us to use on the defense can easily be turned around and used on the offense. It does scare me a little bit, and so yeah, I'm here looking for ways to learn and ways to protect. We're always looking for bigger, better, faster, stronger, cheaper.
Yeah, and I mean, it strikes me that, I mean, you know, the whole thought with AI is that it's just going to continue finding new things it can do. So it's starting, you know, with being able to write, you know, for the attackers, being able to write better phishing emails and having, you know, phishing attacks be more successful. But I would imagine that there's all sorts of other things that are going to be coming that AI is going to enable attackers to do in the future as well.
Yeah, I think certainly the things it can do for us, such as process huge amounts of data quickly and find patterns quickly, it will do that for the attackers too. So the intensity of parsing through data that you've exfiltrated from one company, using that to infiltrate another, it's what I would do.
Yeah.
So yeah, why wouldn't the attackers? The ability to scan for breached credentials, the ability to scan for vulnerable systems, all of these things, they can multiply through AI. It's going to get faster. It's going to get, you know, the time between vulnerability discovered and vulnerability exploited is going to drop. We won't have time to patch because the attackers will be exploiting it right away.
Yeah, and I do hear that. I mean, this is almost a time period where, you know, AI is not necessarily being utilized by attackers the way it will be in the future, as we're talking about here. So this may be sort of a window of time where MSPs should be getting up to speed with what they can use AI for.
I think so. I think we are somewhat beholden to the vendors. We certainly don't have the skills in-house to develop these things on our own. I know what I'd like to see, and I got pretty good relationships with a few of my vendors to talk to them about this. But we are beholden to them to make these tools. And again, that's why we come to these events. It's a great way to learn.
Definitely. Well, Neil, thank you so much for speaking with us. This has been really interesting. And thank you for watching. This has been CRN TV's on-location coverage at XChange 2025. Thank you.